Hello, we are live and on the air. This is another episode of Address This Mess brought to you in this beautiful studio. We got me, Alex Mackenzie, your other co-host, Michael Stang, and we've got a lovely lady from Australia joining us today, first-time podcaster, long-time listener, Eloise Linford.
Woo!
Did I say that right?
No.
How do you say it?
Lidfed.
Lidford. Eloise Lidford.
Lidfed.
Anyway, we'll get to more on her later. Do we introduce her now? She's a tattoo artist from Australia up here visiting Canada. But we'll get to her more later. We're going to run through our sponsors. Michael, you take her from here.
Well, you were killing it, bud.
No, you always do this. You're better at them.
Well, it's Amazon, and Amazon's a giant online superstore.
Mm-hmm.
If you shop at Amazon, go to our website and click on it, and then go to Amazon, and it helps everybody in the whole situation. If you like audiobooks, you go to audible.com. Audible.com give you a free audiobook for a trial. Alex uses them all the time under fake aliases.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell anybody. And the folks at Audible are none the wiser.
Good book to get is Bert Kreischer, Life of the Party. Beautiful, beautiful audiobook because it's read by Bert. Great guy to have reading to you. All right, Michael, start me off. What is Kavanaugh?
What?
What did Kavanaugh do?
He's just the Supreme Court nominee.
What's everyone going against him?
So
what did he do that people don't like? I saw a man approached him.
So the Supreme Court is 9 justices. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, it's a lifetime appointment.
Mm-hmm.
So the president appoints you, and the Senate has to confirm you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can get a justice in there that leans a certain way,
mm-hmm.
you kind of have to look at them as conservative or liberal.
Okay.
Then you can start to sway things. So people are super worried about this guy because he's just ultra-conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Just crazy person. But it's not like he's a dumb person. Like, he's a super smart guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he was taking some heat today and yesterday. Like, he's sitting there in these hearings trying to get confirmed.
So was he, he's obviously a judge at some level?
Yeah.
Already?
Yeah. And then this is the highest court in the land.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it's unprecedented, the amount of files that are on him that normally the Senate Judiciary Committee would have to read over.
Mm-hmm.
They're withholding a whole bunch of that, and they look like they're trying to expedite this process.
Right.
So people are really suspicious, and they're not sure if they can stop it. But what this is just...
Are they trying to get it done before the midterms? Is that
Right.
what they're thinking?
Right.
Because they're going to lose a bunch of seats in the midterms, and they're not going to be able to push them through?
Right. So they
Right.
might be trying to execute a plan because that whole lifetime appointment thing.
Right. Like, once he's
You
in...
really start to understand why that's an issue.
You can't get him out. Like, how do people get out then? Just they have to physically...
You have to resign.
you
You
have
can
to
be
step down.
impeached or whatever, like
Right,
if you
yeah,
do
yeah.
some bad stuff. But you have to resign or die.
Mm-hmm.
And Anthony Scalia, who was his big... Like, he was an ultra-conservative justice, so they lost one. He had a jammer in his fucking lake house.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and... his big
God
thing,
rest his soul.
His big thing was that he always ruled against abortion, so they could never push through Roe v. Wade, and he was super upset when they did. And I think when he died, everyone was on Twitter going, a group of women are going to meet to decide what Anthony Scalia should do with his body or whatever, because that was the joke on him, like he's deciding what women can do with their own bodies.
Oh, yeah,
He
yeah.
was this guy who kept
Right.
marching this forward.
Yeah.
But that's the big thing with this Kavanaugh guys. They think they're going to reverse abortion in America.
Okay.
That's what people are super worried about.
That they're going to make it so you can't get abortion.
These are the two things that they're trying to grill him on right now in the hearings. Is one, would you gut Roe v. Wade if you could? And he's sidestepping it like a smart judge. And also...
What's Roe v. Wade? Obviously their abortion program?
Yeah, that was the landmark case that overturned or made abortion legal in America.
Okay.
Yeah. And then they I guess there's writings or like, because judges, your whole life is like writing opinions.
Yeah.
So after a case or whatever, or about cases, you write opinions, and it's, I don't know, it's a big part of what they do. But he, I guess, has had some sort of opinion that the president essentially should be above the law.
Okay, that the president should be able to just go in and do whatever he wants.
Yeah, people
full
are not
power.
super pumped about that. So
Right.
what they're really worried about is, I think the language actually is, should a president have to respond to a subpoena? Which is what Robert Mueller will come with when it's time to absolutely talk to Donald Trump, no matter, like, because they want to, not because he's going to sit down with them.
Okay.
Which is still a possibility.
Yeah. That makes sense. He should have to, though, shouldn't he?
Right. But if this judge gets in, like, this is the big thing about the Supreme Court.
But do you know what happened? Was he somehow involved in that Parksville shooting or something? Because what was the deal with that man went up to him?
A big.
And then he.
I think that guy's name's like, I don't know, but he's the father of a victim in Parkland, maybe.
Parkland. I know that's why I'm talking out of school here too. I should probably look this up.
But either way, he went up to shake his hand, and Kavanaugh looked at him like he was. Like he had three heads, really.
Yeah, Parkland victim's father tries to shake hand during hearing. I don't get it though. Like, why would this guy be trying to do that?
Well, this is, I guess he's running for something. I don't know if he's involved in the political arena. I shouldn't say that. But he's at this hearing, and he just kind of went up and
he's a gun control.
And said out loud. Well, yeah, it's a big part of it. Is like, are they going to put gun control?
Right.
But he went up to him, tried to shake his hand, announced who he was, and Kavanaugh just like, with the entire world watching,
like shrugged him off,
just fucking ghosted him.
Right. I don't get why that's so bad though. Like, why are you just gonna shake everyone's hand?
Well, because essentially, I mean, you're the father of a young girl who was shot in a shooting.
Right.
You go anywhere and try to shake anybody's hand. If they refuse, I can paint you as a bad man. And then if you're in this position,
but then
you're
if you're
supposed to be shaking hands and kissing babies.
But
you're
then,
supposed to be playing
what if he did shake that guy's hand?
Right.
If he just shook the guy's hand, but then the father looks like
he
doesn't care about gun control. He looks like
maybe he just wanted to say, look,
I support you.
He's just looking to do the right thing. Like whoever this guy is, maybe he's the justice. I want to start a ethical dialogue, whatever.
Right.
But the real problem with the Supreme Court is that it's a branch, and part of the checks and balances were that the branches don't mix. So you have the executive branch, which is like your president, vice president, and secretary of state. Mm-hmm. And then the judicial branch is supposed to be completely separate. And then there's the Senate.
Right.
But I think it was in 1962 or something like that, the first time that the Supreme Court ever made a political ruling. And when all the judges made it, they were super torn up about it because they know that you should never ever, and it was said from the start of America, never ever should these two mix. So if the Supreme Court decides a political issue, they've broken a rule, a golden rule. And as soon as you set a precedent in law, you can start to repeat that shit. And they know they're just putting a crack in the window that's just holding back so much shit that it's just going to blow up one day.
Yeah.
So they were torn up about doing that. And what they were deciding on was redistricting, basically like gerrymandering. What they came up with was one person, one vote. Because in states like Alabama, there was a large rural vote that was just like 18 white people living on a ton of land.
Yeah.
And then like a bunch of urban votes that meant nothing, but it was a way denser population.
Yeah.
So it just wasn't representative.
Yeah, well, it's still kind of like that, isn't it?
In certain spots, like it's still an issue, but this was a big one, and the Supreme Court had to rule on it. And when they did, they said we had to do this, or this is the way it shook out, but this is still a big problem,
right?
Because one day, this can lead to the Supreme Court deciding an election and not the people, and that's exactly what happened in 2000 with Bush versus Gore. The Supreme Court decided the president of the United States, and they
by
said
doing
that's
how they do that
blasphemy.
with the recount. Or?
Yeah, they had to decide it.
Wasn't it Bush's brother too?
I don't know.
It was like Bush's brother was the dude in Florida.
Yeah, who knows about?
Because Gore won initially, right?
I forget how it shook out, or like how
Gore,
it was before.
Yeah, Gore won.
And why there was a bunch of controversy, but they needed a recount, and this happened, and the Supreme Court ended up having to decide an election, which is, in the eyes of the American Constitution, like the absolute wrong thing to do. And they called that way back when they broke the rules. So now, the big game is getting justices through that have huge political ideologies your way. If you can get them in there, you can get a lot of shit done that you want to get done, and it's going to look all above board because you're playing by the rules.
Right.
It's the fucking Supreme Court. You can argue with them?
Yeah. Yeah, that's how the whole government works though with everything, right?
And the big thing is people say like the Republicans stymied an Obama nomination when he tried to get Merrick Garland to be a Supreme Court justice for that Scalia guy who had a jammer.
Yeah.
They blocked it, and they blocked on all these weird things, but they own the Senate, so they didn't have to do it.
Well, isn't it always going to seem like a conflict of interest? Because you're
Right.
like, if you get to decide who's going in the Supreme Court,
But
you're
now
always
they're
going to
going-
pick a guy on your team, aren't
This guy's been implicated in 2 criminal conspiracies, and we're going to let him elect a justice to our Supreme Court.
Trump
Yeah.
has, you mean? Yeah, yeah.
They're like, maybe we should hold this off, but the Republicans aren't buying that, right? Because it's the real writing's on the wall. It's not what
Well, why?
they're just about pushing it through. They don't care about being spineless.
How does it actually get elected? Do you know?
The Senate has to confirm it. It's a Senate Judiciary Committee.
Okay.
But the president nominates.
Okay, right. I think you said that earlier.
So then once that goes through, then it's fucking lifetime, son. Then you
Right.
got to worry about people poisoning your water because that's the only way they can get you out of the goddamn job.
Yeah, for sure. What? Who's the lady that did the white power symbol there?
I have no idea. I saw like a brief thing on that video, but I don't know where to side on things that are that innocuous. It's like I don't know. I don't know if it's serious. And then once you make a thing out of it, other people are obviously going to do it just to be trolls, and then it's like
Zina Bash flashes white power symbol at Kavanaugh hearing. Did you see what you did? Like it's a harmless.
yeah, it's just the circle game type thing. Like it's
Yeah, the only thing that I have to say though is I've never in my life naturally just rested my hand like that. You know?
that's easy to do though.
Like if you look at it. We also know how to fix
Easy to
bunions if
do.
we need to do that at the top there. People click the link, go ahead, get them figured out.
You don't even know what her pinky finger's doing in that. You don't know that it's out for the W.
Yeah, I guess you're only getting 2, hey?
People are fucking crazy.
No, I totally agree. It's 100%
She could just be
crazy.
scratching her arm with her index finger right there for a second.
She holds it for a while. I saw a video. But yeah, the reason why people are freaking
People
out.
should be more
'cause
concerned about that Muppet in the blue tie. It's dangerous.
Man, it'd be so weird having all those cameras on you. Every single thing you do. Like, look at how stupid his face looks. Like, that was like that Zuckerberg drinking water thing.
Yeah, that was so funny. I think we already talked about that.
Yeah, we did.
Where the movie just made him look like badass.
Yeah.
And then when he was sitting there, he's like, golly gee. We sure messed up. Of course, that's pretty crazy. Like, if you ever see that, I think it was when James Comey went to testify. Like, literally, you're sitting alone, single chair, desk in front of you, like glass of water, or whatever. And there's a whole press pool standing around you, like a perfect square that they won't step over.
Right.
And it's probably like 200-300 cameras pointed at you.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
that's
just
got to
like
be
the
super
whole world's
weird.
revolving around you at that moment, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I was like, who would just be cool and like sitting back chill? Like, you'd have to be some kind of a motherfucker.
Would you feel like you had the obligation to say hi, Mom, or something?
Well, it depends
Mom,
on
look,
who
I'm
you
on the
are.
TV.
You don't just get there like, hey, I want a contest, look at me. You're usually someone who's been on camera a few hundred times.
But that'd be the
because you're
coolest.
super important.
Yeah. I want to see a guy just pull up in slacks, so, like nothing too fancy.
Yeah, I don't think you can do that.
Do you have to have
They
a tie
probably
on?
slap you at the door and be like, yeah, do you know what's going on here? They slap a tie on you.
End up like, was it Venus Williams there? You can't wear that.
That's a weird
Serena,
one,
wasn't
hey?
it? Serena?
Was it Serena?
Yeah, it was Serena.
Yeah, I get them confused.
Oh, why?
Just the same name, pretty
Same
much.
old black lady,
Williams.
they all look the same. Bro.
Hey, come
like
on.
identical.
Dude, I know 2 Williams sisters. Both
What,
play
they all look
tennis.
like you, huh?
What do you mean, you people?
Yeah, that was a weird one because they think they said scientifically that was designed to help her.
Yeah, medically. There was
Yeah.
a medical condition involved there. And
Helped
they
her
wouldn't
blood
let her
from
wear it.
clotting after her pregnancy.
Yeah, she was having...
Which is
said it-
pretty cool stuff if you're thinking
Well, it
from
just
just
seemed
an
like
athletic wear point of view.
it just seemed like a compression suit to me.
Right.
Right? But then they wouldn't let her wear it. But she somehow pulled off a tutu. Like you were allowed to wear a tutu.
Well, I think that might be her going very subtle. Like,
Well, that's her saying, fuck
really
you. to
smart
them.
black people, man, like LeBron James, like they take the high road. Like all their civil rights heroes took a high road that you could hardly even imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So they all have this like Barack Obama, never actually hit
Did
the
you see
nail
what
on the head to talk shit.
Did you
They
see what
always
LeBron
subtly
did?
insinuate the things, and then they let you infer it.
Like because people are freaking out with the Nike thing there.
Well, just yeah,
You see what LeBron did now because he started that school, right?
right.
So I think that whole school got all fresh Nike gear.
Nice.
All the kids at the school,
Yeah.
he bought them all Nike gear. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's probably a good thing, I guess. Not just the shoes, but the Nike, the whole position they're taking. I mean, it is weird.
I
Like
think
you could
it's
always
good,
make the
but
case
it's-
that making the dollars off the back of anything like that is a little disingenuous, but I doubt it.
Yeah,
At the same-
I think I'm proud of them for sticking with
Yeah.
Kaepernick through it.
Yeah.
I find it weird though how people get right away they just look at it as a disrespect to the military,
Well, that's just their angle politically,
right?
That's
They're
their
just trying
that's
to
their
say
hard
you don't
angle
care
against
about the
this.
people that died, and then the police actually just released a statement today. Do you see that? Saying like 381 police officers died in the line of duty in 2016.
The police,
The police, yeah, the police, all of them.
Stang, the drummer.
But yeah, they just released a thing saying this many people died, and they're like, that's because they believed in something and they stuck to it. Like basically, use Nike's ad.
Right?
against
Is there
them.
federal police? Like, is there a whole?
Oh, yeah, they're called the feds. Come
National
on.
union.
I don't know, man.
Right, but they're their own thing. But like, as cops go state to state, do they have a
Like how we have like the RCMP. Police on Nike ad. What do we got here?
what were we talking about
or-
before that? Oh, we were talking about how
Yeah, see, they're calling for all the cops to boycott Nike too.
most of these powerful black people they take the high road. Mm-hmm. So, who was talking the nonsense?
Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna have to find the tweet now.
No, what were we just talking about before?
Oh, we're talking about how Serena Williams.
Oh,
took the
Serena, that's
high
right, that's
road.
right.
Oh, I just
So
hope this
yeah,
is
what
right.
she's doing with the tutu might just be a subtle shot, because
Well, it is
she's
for sure a subtle
but she's
shot.
going, look at what I can wear. Mm-hmm. Like, look at what they're putting me in.
Right,
Like, can I please
right.
wear a fucking compression suit because I want to? What does it matter?
Yeah, yeah.
Just because the game is the same with golf, man. Like, golf went way past the year 2000. Just no women. Hey, like all the big private clubs, no women on the premises. Like
Yeah.
weird shit.
Just
But it's
wouldn't even let
just an
him on, eh?
old game made by super rich white guys from way, way back.
Yeah,
And some of those ideas are still hanging on in these places.
yeah.
So they like what they did, I guess, is all written there. Like they had to play by the rules, the code. They just have to rewrite the code.
Right.
Like they had a dress code fucking written down.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have to enforce it.
Yeah.
It's just silly old shit.
It's pretty crazy when you start looking at the years that things actually happened and you realize it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
You know, like apparently First Nations in Canada, they weren't even allowed to vote until like the late 60s or 70s, something like that.
That was a Supreme Court case.
And you're like that,
not
that doesn't
that.
seem that
Not
long
that.
ago. Like so when my
That
parents
must
were
have been a Supreme Court case for us.
so when my parents were born, First Nations couldn't even vote. Like, isn't that fucking crazy?
Yeah.
Seems like it would be so long ago, but it's not.
Well, in Australia, they weren't even considered humans until after my mum was born.
Yeah.
Really?
They were considered part of flora and fauna, which is like the animals and plants of Australia.
Whoa.
Yeah, so they didn't even get human rights until I think like late 60s, something like that.
Yeah, what were you telling me? You told me a story about like they used to could get money for them or something.
Yeah, you used to be able to get a hunting license, and it's crazy. It's like hunting for moose, right? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Except for you'd get paid to do it. There was like a 5 pound, 2 pound.
That's so weird, right?
And it's not that long ago. It's like
I know.
crazy how far and how not far we've come. In some ways, we've come so far. In
But
other
it's-
ways, it's just
Like, it's almost weird how rational they were trying to make it.
yeah,
Like, oh, they're just animals.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if they were human, we'd take them, but they're just somehow
Yeah.
not. You're like, no, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that like anyone could even have been talked into that. Like no one could, even if we had aliens that come down right now and they look like us, I could never be talked into the fact that they're just animals. Like
Right.
it wouldn't take 2 seconds for you to be like, hang on a second, you have the exact same body I have. Why?
Right.
Even on a biological level, we're exactly the same.
Yeah. Well,
So, like, morally, you can, whatever. If you want to be a dick, you can be a dick. But you both just still have the same body.
Well, you're also really hitting on, like, one of the biggest ethical questions ever is, when does something become alive?
Yeah.
Or when does life become more critical than other life? Because you know that there's mice that, like, right? So we seem to be okay with killing white mice. You go, all right.
Speciesism,
But then
right?
you're not going to do that with dolphins or something like this. So obviously there's lines drawn.
Yeah,
here.
they seem to like same
so
with
where do they go?
Like in captivity, like ever since Blackfish came out, we seem now like you're not allowed whales in captivity, right? Actually, I don't know if you still are, because apparently I was talking to a guy today. He went to Marineland. They had a beluga.
That's funny, like the different civil rights movements for the different types of whale. The orcas have their freedoms. We the belugas must rise.
Yeah, man. The
should
beluga's
we
got to
all-
kill somebody first,
We are
right?
whales. We are whales.
It's so true though, like anyone will eat a pig, but if you have a teapot pig and someone was to slaughter that, people would cry.
Babe,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want that bacon.
Yeah.
Not that bacon.
It's the back fat, stupid. Yeah. That. Do you think that's what it is? Because the killer whales started killing people?
Well, think
Like,
about
is that
why.
what it takes? You got to start killing people to get your voice out there?
I don't know.
Like, 'cause
Because that's the weirdest thing about orcas is there's like no record of them killing humans ever.
In the wild.
In the wild.
In the wild, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I still ran like a
Plenty in
bitch when
captivity.
that one came up to my kayak that time. I was
yeah,
terrified, man.
Yeah.
That thing was so goddamn
Did you
big.
see that video of the elephant that charges the van? And
Yeah, and then
stops?
fucks with him, and
And
yeah,
he's
he's
like,
like,
"Ah."
looks back at him. Yeah,
I
man.
knew you were gonna jump off, pussy.
Yeah, got you. Yeah, man.
And you're like, okay, well, clearly you can't kill that guy.
Yeah,
He's feeling it. Like he's got something going on that we don't need that. We need animal protein, perhaps. We can
Yeah.
get it somewhere else. Look at that dumb cow.
yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, but
Don't kill
like,
him.
why don't you want people to eat dog?
How come? Okay,
you
here's
don't want
something-
people to eat dog because you think a dog has a higher sense of what's going on here, right? They're your friends, and it's very evident that they can
it's
respond
like-
with you, they can interact with you.
Dimitri Martin, he made a joke about it. He's like, I think that pets are just animals that don't taste good. He's like, I think we tried to eat everything, and then we're like, no, dogs don't taste good. We're not going to eat those, or cats.
Yeah, there's some people who really like dog.
Yeah, I was gonna say you'd have some. I think that's the thing. I think you'll only eat the things you don't have good memories of, right? Like, I know people that won't eat cow because they've known some pretty cute cows when they were little, but they'll eat a chicken because
Right.
they've never met a chicken. I think it's like,
Yeah.
once you have good memories with an animal, it becomes a sentimental being, and you.
Yeah, 'cause
or
we
some
don't-
people have chickens and they get eggs from those chickens. They wouldn't eat those chickens, but they still have chicken in their freezer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's because those chickens aren't giving them eggs.
Right.
You got to have a trade-off here.
Right, but even
Give me
so,
your
when
eggs, I won't
when
eat
that
you.
chicken's at the end of its egg-given career,
Right.
they're still just
When the
gonna,
ovaries dry up.
gonna let her rest.
Yeah.
Don't have to fry it up.
Yeah. Do people eat their fish? You know, you got a pet fish and it dies. Does anyone eat those?
It depends. Do you have like a pet whiting in the fish tank or a goldfish? Like,
Dude, there's a story that Manny Pacquiao was so poor that when they were growing up, they had to eat their dog.
They had to eat their dog. Holy fuck balls, are they?
Like, that's how starving they were.
Yeah.
That was what had to be done.
Similar to Sylvester Stallone, he had to sell his dog, right?
Questionable.
That's one of the coolest stories.
I guess that Rusamar Paul Harris guy, too. He used to have pigs, and then they used to eat what the pigs ate.
Really?
Yeah.
Neat. Fun
Which is
fact.
insane.
Yeah.
which is what's more insane because pigs eat everything. What the
Right.
hell were they eating?
Yeah. Like,
You know, it's something that baffles me. So people say that orcas can communicate. Like they can tell they have a different dialect.
yeah, like accents or whatever. There.
Yeah, and they say like you can tell, like when they would separate the mom from her. I don't know what you call it. Definitely not a cub.
It's
or
calf, I
calf.
think.
Yeah, yeah,
Or calf.
yeah. A calf, cough. When you separate the mom from the cough, it's the mom would start like crying in a different, like it was using a different tone. You know, so you could tell those were like different than her just talking. But
Right.
the thing that I have a hard time with is how come we can't figure out what they're saying? If something could speak another language, like I always said, do you need someone who speaks that language to explain it to you? Like with Spanish, can I learn Spanish without someone who knows Spanish and English explaining to me what's going on?
I think a ton of it is intuition. Those animals probably operate on an intuition that maybe we're not used to because we have such complex language.
I agree, but
so
if
what
they,
they're saying isn't as
any,
intricate as you'd like it to be.
Right, it's like just like this is good, bad,
right. It's
scared. Like you're almost just saying an emotion you're feeling, and then that one's doing this.
Yeah, more or less, I guess.
But then how did they? Like yeah. Because I'm wondering like how we couldn't figure it out. Because I feel like
it's like how your dog doesn't really know what you're saying. He's reading your body language, and the like level of your voice is a big one. If you're like,
yeah,
or if you got that little,
yeah, you can tell him he's going to get put down, but you're doing a happy voice, and he's like, yeah, let's go get put down. Yeah. But I don't understand. Like, I think we would have to figure it out, right? Like, if they were saying something, why can't we figure that shit out?
Well, people do try,
but
they kind of surmise that by like context of the situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they go like, oh, well, they're probably saying this because like this is what their behavior's indicative of.
Right.
But
I don't know.
I don't like it's like you ever watch them desert dogs? Like they live on the like with the lions and stuff like that. They're like, I don't know. They're not. They're bigger than foxes, but they're not actually like coyotes or anything like that. No, they're like just these little dogs. They're cool as shit. They look like sweet. They're a little bigger than a fox though. Okay. But when they hunt in this like if you watch it aerially, they're in this unbelievable formation that looks like you couldn't even get fucking 18 people to do this without a bunch of conversation. Yeah. And they just have it figured because it's part of their hunting. Like it's the only reason they're alive, right? Very primal. Because they're capable of things like this. Right. But yeah, they just have pincer movements and they know numbers and they like their barks while they're communicating let them know like where to close up the circle and how to lead things certain places. Right. Like Jesus. Like what's going on there? Should you be able to kill that thing?
Yeah, I guess so if you're going on like an intellectual conscious level of the being that you're considering killing. What about that bacteria that takes over, goes in a cat's brain? Is that what it goes in? Mm-hmm. Do you hear about that one? It's like a bacteria can go and infect into a cat's brain, and then it tells the cat to eat this poison because that's what the bacteria needs to live. But then the cat eats it and dies, but that is what allows the bacteria to continue to live. But that little fucker, he knows what's going on. Like, he makes his way all the way into your brain and then tells you to eat something that is going to kill you.
Is it only cats?
No, pardon?
Only cats?
Yeah, for some reason I feel like it was cats.
Yeah, that seems to be like a function thing, though.
At what point does that, like, change, evolution, humans?
Do cats control my mind?
It's kind of like your immune system,
the mind-altering cat parasite.
You'll slowly be able to stave off something that's buzzing around. But then something comes along that puts you on your ass.
1 in 2 people are infected?
I don't know what this is.
Up to 50% of the global population is infected by a cat parasite.
Toxoplasma.
In some places, it's as high as 95%.
Interesting.
Wow.
Toxoplasmosis.
That's a fun
You don't want it.
Even kills as many people as malaria. I don't know. So this is the thing. It messes with rodent's brain to help complete its life cycle. Yeah. So anyway, I guess rodents. Are cats rodents? I guess so.
Well, basically anything like that's not running on instinct. Mm-hmm. Like a shark, just for I guess 100 million years, has just been a shark. Right. And they just instinctively chomp on shit, and they're so good at it that they just are what they are. Mm-hmm. But like killer whales, because they're apex predators, where nothing hunts a fully grown adult. Mm-hmm. They just don't have any natural predators. Mm-hmm. And a great white shark doesn't really either, right? There's 1 or 2, but by and large, they're not getting eaten up. But they don't. Sharks just give birth to other sharks, and they're just cold-blooded reptiles. Mm-hmm. But whales learn, like you teach your young how to hunt, and you put them through lessons, and it's
right. Like, so does the shark literally just shit out a shark and then take off?
Yeah, sometimes eat it.
Sometimes some of them will give birth to sharks, and the other ones lay eggs. I don't know why there's a difference between
Really?
the two. Yeah, absolutely.
Because I've always like that's how I've always made my distinction. Was I heard that reptiles don't have your prefrontal cortex, so they don't actually have the ability. Like that's where you get all your emotion from. So they actually don't even have the ability to care for their young. That's why like a mother black bear will fight like a full-grown male grizzly to the death, trying to protect her child. Is where like a lizard will eat its kid because he doesn't have the fucking capacity to care for it.
Well, here's the thing, man.
But that's why I don't get if a shark is a mammal.
A polar bear will eat its kid.
Will it?
Yeah. Well, the males come to eat them all the time.
Yeah, but don't they do that for breeding purposes or no?
Well, it's mostly like they'll do it to survive, but it's only because like they just make hardcore executive decisions where they go, well, I'm starving, and it's cold out here, but if I get something to eat, I'll be alive. But if I don't get something to eat, I'm gonna die, and then it comes Fucksville anyways. So it's just this.
So it's almost like some pragmatic thinking going on.
Straight up, yeah, hard conditions out there.
Stop being a polar bear.
But I don't know where you're supposed to draw that line of, you don't have to kill these things because they're too, or you're not allowed to kill these things.
But we don't like. Do we need lab rats? I feel like you need them.
Well, how about that lady who was getting lit up for the killing the giraffe? Did you see that one?
No.
So because she takes this glamour shot, and I literally shuffled for way longer than I'd like to admit underneath somebody posting this picture like, oh, this lady's a cunt, fucking whatever. And she's taking the glamour shot in front of the dead giraffe with her rifle and everything. And for every comment, it's just people losing their shit, right? Calling for this lady's death. In the actual story, just happens to be that this male giraffe kept killing the other males that were coming up in the sanctuary. In the area, he would just kill them so they couldn't breed. So he was actually stifling the population.
Right.
He was a problem. They were going to have to kill him anyways.
Right.
So they sold off the rights to a hunter for $100,000, which goes into the conservation.
Yeah.
And they get to go shoot this fucking thing who was going to die anyways.
Yeah.
And she just happened to take this glamour shot with it. And now people are just absolutely losing it.
Right. I think I did hear about that.
It's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, you can agree or not agree with that, but it's not as if she's just like got one.
Yeah. Well, I almost feel, because I've heard the argument made, Finley, watch your tail, bud. I've heard the argument made where it's like, who are we to decide what they do with their animals, you know? Like a lot of African villages apparently do that. They sell off the rights to hunt their shit, and that's how they get an influx of money for their village.
Right.
But then we're over here trying to say, oh, you shouldn't be allowed to do that.
Well, you shouldn't be able to hunt anything to extinction, right? Mm-hmm. Which seems to be the case for a few of those things.
Yeah.
But like deer in Michigan, like you can't kill those things fast enough.
Right.
And if you don't, they're going to kill people in car accidents. Mm-hmm. So you just need it. You almost have to pay people to do it.
Well, the craziest one is where they do the pigs from the helicopters. Right. They just fly over with helicopters and let guys with like mini guns hanging off the side of the helicopter just shoot them down in cold blood as they run through a field.
And they give the meat to the best place they can think of.
Do they go? Yeah. They? I heard I heard that they didn't even collect them. I heard they just fucking left them.
Well, I mean, if you're in the wetlands or whatever the fuck that looks like they are, there's probably a couple people who don't play by the rules. Yeah. I don't know where to draw that line. Is there anything you wouldn't eat ethically?
Yeah, a dog.
Right.
You? I wouldn't eat you.
But like...
I mean, it depends. If we were down to the last limbs, like Everest coming down.
Right.
Probably eat your
So,
leg
like, no matter where you are, dog's off the table.
Yeah, I would never eat a dog. I can't eat duck, but I think
what about kangaroo?
Kangaroo? See, I would have never ate a kangaroo before, but apparently, after talking to Al, kangaroos, they like deer over there.
They're like the most ethical meat you can eat in Australia.
Yeah, see?
So then you build a culture around it. Fuck kangaroos, shoot them. They just look little people like, because they're bipedal, right? They hop around on 2 feet. They fucking throw jabs and hooks and shit.
Yeah.
They puff out like Nate
Al
Diaz.
said that those guys were dicks to the guy who punched the kangaroo.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because a lot of people, what do? They send their dogs after him or some shit?
Yeah, that's like he was just pissed off because he sent his hunting dog out to attack the kangaroo, and then the kangaroo beat him. So he was like, "Fuck you! You beat my dog. I'm gonna go beat you up." He really should have just taken the loss and let the kangaroo win. I reckon.
Yeah, you mess with a kangaroo. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. You know?
Yeah, yeah. But would you eat horse?
No.
How come? Because of the movies you watched as a kid?
Yep. No, I just would eat horse because they seem pretty smart. You know?
Why?
Because people train them.
It's kind of a silly.
You can train them to do things like they're like a little. They help us. I mean, they were probably a huge part of our growth as a society.
The whole
back in
of
the,
Canada is
back in
probably
the
built
day.
on the back of a horse, really.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I can't eat that guy.
Like
But was that the only reason you weren't eating them? Is because you could ride them into their death?
No, because they're good dudes.
Why do they want to fucking run?
Would you eat
with
a horse?
you on their back?
Would you eat a horse?
I
won't even ride a horse. I won't even go near a horse, man. I'm
Right.
terrified of horses.
Right.
But I wouldn't eat a horse. I think I'd just stick to the ones we already decided we're eating.
But isn't that indicative of like how things are accepted and not accepted? It's like how you're raised and what
Yeah,
people
totally.
said
It's your,
was okay.
it's your
and okay.
perception, yeah, for sure.
But is there any logical line
That's
to
why
draw?
if someone like
Where somebody's like, I eat foie gras, and you're like, well, I don't agree with foie gras because ducks. Not only do I not eat ducks, but the ducks that they make foie gras out of are like hung in a cage and shove a tube down their throat, and they don't get to walk around. And
right,
you disagree with it for all these reasons.
mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean it doesn't taste good,
yeah,
right?
yeah, I wouldn't eat foie gras. But then again, here I am eating cattle, and I don't really agree with the way we get those. But what I do now, I try to be an ethical dude, and I get all my meat from the butcher, which is raised on local farms.
Charlie tells me you're a butcher.
So I do that because I don't really agree with factory farming, but I'm not ready to give up meat. What I think we should do, though, I think we need to like rein back. Like I would agree on like meat tickets. Like if everyone just got a ticket.
like a raffle.
Yeah, laugh it up, buddy. If everyone just got it, you had like say for a month, you got to eat red meat once a week.
I'll bet you your fucking meat ticket.
People start trading them, hey? Like
Yeah, well that's the thing. The vegans would have to burn theirs, all right? Maybe
How'd that broad get 6 meat tickets?
yeah, but you would get a meat ticket, and then
By
you could
taking 5 meat tickets.
You had to give a ticket to buy red meat, and then you could only eat red meat like once a week. You know,
Well, you're
I
only
think that
supposed
would
to
cut
eat
it
red
down.
meat once a week. Why can't we just listen to what we're supposed to do?
I don't know. Maybe who said you're only supposed to eat it once a week, right?
Scientists.
Yeah, but scientists they don't know what the fuck's going on.
As if they
Well, I think
know.
that's the thing. Diet is a little subjective, right? Like there's some good
Big
broad
time, man.
guidelines to draw.
Scientists
But
also said that fat was bad and sugar was good. You know, those guys are a bunch of dickheads. They
Which
don't know what they want.
scientists and in
Exactly.
which study, right?
Exactly.
Who paid for
That's
that?
why. Exactly.
paid
Let's
for
say with like
that?
meat, depending who you talk to, tells you how much you're supposed to eat. And apparently, if you don't eat any animals, you can't get any B vitamin.
No,
but then the
that's a
vegans.
complete lie. That's a complete lie.
But then the vegans say you need to get because where B vitamin comes from is dirt.
Yeah, it comes from bacteria in the mud.
Yeah, but the problem is all of our vegetables are so processed and cleaned, so you have to be eating dirt in order to get
Well,
it.
even livestock is fed B12 in the hope that it gets passed on to you in its meat.
Mm-hmm.
But they're fed B12 from a vegan source, so it's like you're kind of like taking a vegan supplement, feeding it to a cow, and then eating the cow and hoping you get.
So
some
how
of that
do
supplement.
vegans get it? Like how do you get it?
Well, the way we used to get it was from eating vegetables out of the ground. So basically,
how do you get it now?
you can just take a supplement.
Yeah, but where does that supplement come from?
The dirt.
The dirt.
Yeah.
So
It's a bacteria. It's actually an amino acid, right?
he's getting the squeaky toy. No, that's not.
Finley's got a gun.
Sometimes you just gotta kick the animals out. You know, put them in a cage.
careful now. Somebody's gonna soundbite that.
Put it on.
You're
This
gonna
guy hates animals.
You're gonna be much maligned. No,
I know,
they're gonna
man.
be say this is what he said about black people.
Oh yeah, dude, I'm gonna lose like a third of my fan base.
You sick bastard. Yeah. I wonder if that'll be a thing. Like, I bet Trump will try to jump there first, but just, like, being able to discredit video and audio, being like, somebody probably just made that.
Yeah. Dude, you know what I caught Roscoe today? He thought that some guy impersonated Eminem's diss. So, like, because Eminem, everyone's waiting for him to fire back at MGK. Mm-hmm. And there's a guy who just made one. But he kind of sounds like Eminem. And he just put it up as Eminem diss back to MGK. And it totally got Roscoe. Had him fooled. So you got to watch out for those, you know?
Oh, they're out there.
But the class, it was posted by, like, Eminem Leaks 2014 on YouTube. Like, yeah, it's probably not real if it's Eminem hasn't even put it on his personal page first, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I feel about, like, all the fake news. Like, you just have to check the source. I find it's not that hard
Fake
to...
news.
Well, if anything,
figure
that's
it
probably
out.
like one of the main benefits out of, and everyone's sick of hearing about fake news and Trump just going off about it all the time.
But it's really dumb people that are getting caught with it.
Right,
Like,
but that's how you attack the free press, though. And it's like rule number 1.
because people are, like, reading The Onion and thinking it's real, when its whole thing is a satire news network.
But that's rare.
Yeah, well...
But, like, on average, what he's doing with this, like, Fox News is no fucking joke.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a joke, but they're, like, the things they put on there are hilarious. When there's a huge scandal against Trump, like, every other news station is running breaking news, Trump implicated in a criminal conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, this is a squirrel water scheme. They're just totally on some weird home story, like God Bless America story or something like this.
Right.
And you're like, well, this is so obviously transparent. Like, this is a legitimate propaganda machine.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't go away. Like, it's not just a small minority of people. Like, it probably is
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of 350 million.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But it's working enough as a political tool to sway things and cause a bunch of turbulence and that's putting it mildly.
Yeah.
Which is all a foreign power would hope for, right? If anyone's trying to usurp you as number one in the world, they're not showing up on your beaches. They're just trying to rot you from the inside out.
Right.
I don't know.
Have you found anyone that can disagree with Chomsky in his theory of, like
Foreign policy or
just breaking down
like
democracy, like economics, like the way
There's
like
economists
that,
that do, but
like that Requiem for the American Dream. Like, I watched that and I cannot disagree with anything he says in there.
right.
And is there anyone because until someone can show me, and like as articulate as he can and intellectually as he can, show me another viewpoint that contradicts his, like I pretty much stand with him on all of that shit.
On economics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But does anyone disagree? Like, why do we still do all those things? Well, I guess why we do is because the people.
But because what he's describing has the element of human nature injected into it.
Because to me,
And none of the stuff that's written on paper does.
But-
So, like, that's the, like...
like Ben Shapiro should be attacking him, shouldn't he? Because
Well, there's probably a few things there.
but I've never heard anyone say it. Like, no, I haven't really heard many people be like, Chomsky's full of shit.
Well, no, because Chomsky is offering, like, that Requiem for the American Dream or whatever, he's offering it to you, like, this is the system as humans take it and manipulate it, which is the thing you need to be aware of, like, because that's the reality. But the system itself on paper doesn't have that human nature injected into it. Mm-hmm. So you go, oh, I see where the problem is here, but it's not actually written on paper that it's against the law to do that.
Yeah, but that's the problem with a lot of the laws, right?
Right.
Like, that's what they say. Like, Nike didn't pay any income tax.
But as
like,
soon
any
as you start
taxes.
trying to go above the law, then you're Fucksville too. So it becomes this like really bogged down thing. Because without the rule of law, like
So we just need to rewrite laws, is what you're thinking?
slowly but surely elect politicians that slowly but surely make the proper corrections.
Because
to
I don't
these
even
things.
get how
As-
democracy works. Like, to me, it should be that if over 50% agrees on something, that's what we're doing, whether you like it or not. Because that's just everyone gets their vote. And if over half the population thinks it's that way, like for me, like I don't agree with the speed limit being 60. I think it should be at least 80 everywhere. I love driving fast. But majority of people think it should be 60. So I got to drive 60. And that's just the way it
what
goes.
you would say, everyone would, if anyone was arguing that, which is mostly what you want, like some open discourse on it, not just a popularity contest. Mm-hmm. But you would have to say, well, what you want to do is the studies. what you want to do is investigate how good are drivers across a broad number of
Right.
demographics.
You'd have to say how many more car accidents happen at the speed of 80 kilometers an hour in these areas compared to 60.
And
I understand.
it's
yeah.
about like your likelihood of being killed at 60 k's rather than 80 k's, right?
Speed limit is an interesting.
Oh, I keep turning years up.
It's an interesting thing where we put a price on life because we understand that this thing needs to revolve at a certain speed.
Right.
So if you want to save lives, to drop the speed limit to 30, you'll
Right.
save some lives. But we all understand it's not efficient enough.
Yeah.
So we'll take the hit on the casualties.
Yeah.
Because it's cost of doing business.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. Because you're allowed, statistically, you're allowed to let that many people die. But personally, if you know those people, you can't do anything but save those people.
Right.
Like once you put a face to it.
Yeah.
17 people are going to die this year from toys and cereal boxes.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I guess it just happens.
Yeah.
And like, oh, it's all these 17 kids here in this preschool.
Yeah. Like,
Oh, we should probably do something to prevent that immediately.
Yeah.
Those poor children.
What about, because for me, like, they're legalizing pot in Canada. Nobody asked me if I wanted it legalized.
Well, they sort of did. They asked you about a candidate who had a position on it.
Right. But then but then I have to vote for every position he has.
In a way, yeah.
Right? Where I'm like, okay, I want to legalize weed, but I don't want all this other shit he's doing.
You got to pick a hill to die on.
I know, but why at this day and age could we not have it where we get to vote on all the separate issues? Like, I get it back when we didn't have the communication we have now, when it was
because
like,
it would just be one vote, and like if it became
not
like,
even the
okay,
telephones
every
around.
day we have a vote on something, you know, like could that be a possibility?
Right.
But with all the things that they do every day as politicians,
Because I always thought it should just be like petitions. Like you would...
what can be a vote and what cannot be a vote?
Like you would need a petition, and you'd need to get it to a certain level, you need 100,000 people, or like you need a certain percentage of your population to sign this petition, and then it'll get moved on, and then we all vote on it. But until you get those numbers, because if you get those type of numbers...
What if you got a
people
really
probably
dangerous
know.
one floating around out there, though?
Like what?
Something a little fucking weird, and then all of a sudden it had a little bit of power to it.
But then you just vote no, and you have to get everyone to be like...
Well,
look
say it
at-
was a wild religious group, and they just keep, like, if you vote once, can you vote again? Can you vote on a thing that's the same thing but worded differently? And we could keep voting on whether black people could be slaves again until that fucker goes through.
Yeah, but
365 days a year.
Yeah, but then you have to squash that. You just put in legislation saying that you can only vote on this thing, like, you got once a year or once every 4 years. Like to me, it just...
As
like,
the language is written.
Yeah, you're going to have problems, but then you just have to write legislation to overcome those hurdles as they get there.
It seems like one big drastic thing could slip through there, though. Creating margin of error.
The only thing that did do it for me on the everyone voting for something that kind of stifled my thoughts on it was John Scott getting in the All-Star game in the NHL. Because they just literally put it out to fan voting. We're like, all right, you guys get to pick who all the All-Star players are in the NHL. And everyone thought it would be really funny to vote for the worst guy in the NHL. So, and then he got the most votes in the entire thing. And then that's how you end up with John Scott in the All-Star game. So I do think, like, say that, like, drunk driving came up. And you get a bunch of goofballs. They're like, oh, yeah, it'd be sweet if I'm allowed to drink and drive. And then everyone kind of votes on it as a joke, kind of like Brexit. Next thing you know, you're legal to drink and drive, and then people are just getting squashed.
Essentially, yeah.
I think that'd have to be like some kind of a conscience like thing though, where when people's lives are at risk, you just let the professionals take care of that shit.
Yeah, but then now you're drawing a line, and now you say what? You know, you kind of get muddy waters when you start saying, what are we going to leave to the professionals and what aren't we?
This is how you understand that too much legislation becomes an issue. Because
Yeah.
what you want is not too much language around any one thing.
Right.
So you don't actually push anything too far one way or the other. It's weird though. Like it's kind of a conservative point of view. But the moment you start trying to like make a rule out of something, it's like working with Mercury.
Yep, go on.
Sorry, I was laughing because that's what he says in Tropic Thunder. Robert Downey Jr. It's like working with Mercury, man. It's a high science, an art form. But yeah, you just try to grab it and then it breaks into two, and then if you try to grab it, drop it, and Mercury breaks into four. Like it's you end up chasing it, and then you get into dangerous places. Mm-hmm. But it's just the balance. It's like if it's a known thing that if it swings one way or the other too far, shit gets fucking disastrous immediately.
Right.
So this whole holding thing in the balance, like, That's all you should be fighting for is the balance. You shouldn't want a whole left-wing government or a whole right-side fucking justice. Like, it's
Right.
the balance is the essence.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Well, I think
They call you a centrist. I don't even want to be a centrist. I just think that's logical.
Right.
Like, the spectrum starts to fail at a point. It helps you describe things in the conversation.
Yeah, I know.
But
what
to
you mean.
put people in boxes because you say those things it's not ideal.
Something, but like I don't see. Shouldn't we all just agree on like a few things? Like, I think that every well-developed country should just have free healthcare. You should have free schooling. I don't know what else. There's probably a couple other things in there, but like those should just be mandatory right out of the gates to have those.
Well, healthcare, yes. The schooling thing is like, I think most developed countries agree on public grade school education.
Yeah, but I think all of it, because if you can, the more you educate your people, the better off your country's going to be.
Right.
Like, I think the whole thing should be fun. Everyone should be allowed to do school for free.
Yeah.
If you're willing to go and educate yourself and get better, the more educated people you have in your country, the better.
That's a good
And
idea.
even if you're a country who, I saw a thing one time about it's really beneficial for you if other countries in the world are doing good because you're just raising the bottom bar across the board. So even if like you don't, if you're against immigration, if that other country's doing well, guess what? They're not going to be coming over here. So if they're doing good, and then if you have all the countries contributing to things like fixing cancer, the more people, the more funding you have for something, the more research you can do on it, the more problems you can get solved. So if it's not just, the top 10 developed countries in the world that have the money to do the research, to be working on problems, if you have everyone in the world working on a problem and everyone in the world's educated and doing this research, you're going to get problems done a lot quicker.
What do you
and
think
make large
would
advancements in science.
drive a fear of immigration?
Why are people afraid of it?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, because I don't have those fears, so I don't really know.
Right, but it's obviously pretty evident in a lot of people. That,
Well, I think the
that's
biggest
what
fear
they rail on.
is that they're criminals. People
Really?
think they're going to come. Well, that's what I think. If I
guess
discover it
that's-
here,
yeah, that's a
that
good-
they're afraid that violence is going to come with these people, that they're not going to adapt to your culture, and that they're going to bring their violent culture over here, or they're going to not contribute to society, and they're going to suck off of your system. So your tax dollars are going to pay for these people who aren't going to come and contribute to society, but take a free ride on what you guys already have going over here for benefits.
Right.
Which I don't.
Which is what Brexit was all about.
Was it? Yeah, see, I never got into that shit.
It's just people were coming in and riding on their really awesome social systems. Because they're like, hey, it's for everybody. We're all inclusive here.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, all right, I'll come there and get your unemployment and get your health insurance and get everything done and
Right.
plug nothing back in.
Yeah.
Like, there's always those things to these great systems that you install.
Mm-hmm.
And you go like, oh, there's always going to be those people who abuse things and all that. And it's like, well, then regulation tries to come in and rectify that. You're like, oh, should we drug test people to get their welfare? And then you're like, holy fuck, how do you answer that question? Like, you get into all these little tiny back and forth, but I think just it becomes a power game. I think people are afraid of, like, you wouldn't want a bunch of Muslims just flooding in, even if they weren't criminals. It's like it's a way of life that's going to take over your way of life. That's what you're scared of. Like, it's still that classic people coming over the hill to take what it is you got.
Mm-hmm.
And people are just still afraid of that. And then also America's billed as number one or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So you start to view yourself through that lens. And you go, well, surely you don't want to fall off the top of the hill, do you?
Mm-hmm.
So you have this fear of letting the other in.
How do you feel about immigration?
I think it's like, well, it's the way everything's ever been forever, right? Like, it's the way anything ever got that way. It's just people crisscrossing and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So to say that it is only good for one place now, or like these are the people who decide what happens on these lines in the sand, it's a weird one, but you do have to regulate it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's one of those things where, like, you could use it as a tool if your foreign adversary is just like, why can't I send 20,000 people to go over there?
Yeah.
You know, they're just Russian nationals. Relax.
Yeah.
Relax. It's like you have to draw the line somewhere. So
Yeah,
if you
well,
decide that
do
there's
you
a
know
line
what?
and no line.
Yeah, that's the thing that I thought where it's going to be controversial, but where, like, what Trump said, the wall thing was crazy, but the way he talked about immigration, when I just actually listened to his stance on immigration, which was the same stance Obama had, to me doesn't sound that bad when he just said, he's like, we need to stop the influx of people entering our country illegally. They need to go through due process, which sounds totally sane to me.
Right.
Yeah, you shouldn't illegally having people illegally enter your country.
But that's just him uttering a line, right?
Right, but doesn't that make sense to you? Like,
right,
if you,
then
you're welcome to come here.
But what he did to those kids and
no,
those
yeah,
people,
that's 100% wrong.
But that's why people are going like they just saw the writing on the wall. They go,
Because-
oh, he's not just actually that lax on it. He actually fucking hates these people.
Right.
And
Yeah,
he
his
showed that.
motives are slightly off, eh?
Yeah, but like that.
But people are just not
Doesn't
giving
that
him the
seem-
benefit of the doubt anymore.
But doesn't
that
seem-
guy doesn't get the benefit
But
of the
doesn't
doubt.
that seem normal? Like people should be entering a country in a legal fashion.
Right.
So, but then I got.
Well, it's an easy place to
entering
start
illegally
for him.
because they're afraid when they come in they're gonna get separated like that, and that was their way of. Because I heard lots of stories of people getting separated from their kids and they came legally. They're like, I came here from Mexico.
Like, there's nobody on the left
who
who
first place I
thinks-
went to was the immigration office, and I went there, and the first thing they did was take my kid and fucking ship him up to Chicago, and stuck me here.
The thing with left and right and us and them is if he goes, well, I just think that they should go through the normal immigration process. There's nobody on the left who goes, oh, there should be no normal immigration policy. But that's sort of what he's insinuating. Like, if you think, well, if he thinks this way, they must think the exact opposite on the other side, right? It's not
Let
really.
him have it, Al.
It's not really that. It's just that everyone knows what he really wants to do. He just wants to cause division, racial division.
Yeah, well, that's
I
what
don't
I
know
think
what
the
the
biggest
motive
problem
is
with the
for
guy
that
is that he's causing, like, I think as a leader of any country, you should be trying to unite your people.
Right.
And doing it through, like, the glasses of love. And so this guy's just driven by hate and by separation. Like, he's literally just trying to split the country in two and trying to hope that his half is bigger than the other half. And rather than, like, all he plays off is your hate. He'll just go off of things that you don't like and go that way. And it seems pretty dangerous anytime you have someone telling you who you should hate.
Well, it's what happens when you
It's like
lust for power.
Yeah, here's the people you should hate, and here's why, and go.
But it's just a tool. Like, he wouldn't tell you to hate those people if it didn't work out really well for him. Right?
Yeah, it worked out well for Hitler, too, for what he was trying to do.
Well, it's just part of a bigger game. But nobody knows who's actually running the game. Because if he's just a puppet or whatever, right? Then he's just acting out the will of some foreign adversary.
Who's the goddamn string puller?
And you're going like, is this if you wrote a movie like this, people are, I'm not going to go see it. You're telling me the Russians got a guy in who's just the president of the United States and he's working for Russia? What a dumb movie.
Yeah.
Take this back and rewrite it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it could be the truth. It could be what's happening here in some weird fashion.
Right.
Which is way crazier than you actually kind of give it credit for on a day-to-day basis. You might be living in a weird moment in history right
I got to
now,
do some
where
work.
when you're super old, look, oh, fuck, he was alive for the Trump administration. Remember that shit? Remember that debacle? Like, it'll mark the 2010s to the 2020s. It'll be this thing that's remembered in history. Like, yeah, America almost crumbled. Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
Or at least that clown got impeached.
Yeah.
That would be essentially unprecedented.
People are pretty pumped about that, eh? People keep saying Trump's going to go to jail.
Well, he's indicated in a criminal conspiracy.
Yeah.
Problem is, he's president. The president can pardon whoever he wants.
Including himself.
Veto. Go through the whole trial, eh? The judge banks the gavel. Yeah. Oh, that trial cost about $19 million and all said and done. Yeah, I'm not going to go, though.
I've got a head of household. I believe I won the veto for the week.
You'll just write it down on a loose leaf piece of paper with a crayon.
Do that stupid thing. Just,
Yeah, I'm not going to be there. Like trying to get a kid to go to Saturday school.
Yeah.
Well, we can't make him come. Where's his goddamn parent?
Yeah, man. Oh. Well, should we, you want to go hit the gym?
I can't. I'm working off a cold here.
Right.
It's not good to blow my energy out. I need hydration. I need rest.
Okay, because, yeah, my buddy's already there. Are you guys good? Does anyone have anything pressing to say?
No, we can keep doing this.
Yeah?
No, like in the future this week.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Okay. I was like, all right, I'll leave you two to it. Hang on. Good luck in there.
We got so much shit to say.
Okay, well, everyone, thanks for listening. Elle, thanks for joining. We didn't even get to talk about your shit. Because we should have talked about your tattoo stuff.
Yeah,
and how
talking about my shit and never talking about my shit.
Yeah, we could talk about your whole tattoo adventure, how you did that, because that's a very inspiring story.
Elle's at the studio full time these days. So.
Yeah, she's putting in the hours. That's how she got on the mic. Okay, well, everyone, thanks for listening. We will be giving you another episode probably shortly here within the next couple of days. It was nice meeting you guys.
So long.